today, and sometimes even women in politics, hear you speak like a woman, you run like a girl. So the answer of the Canadian women hockey team was crystal clear. It means fast and strong like girls. And in this spirit, I congratulate the host country, Italy. The Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Games are on track to be the most gender balanced in history, with women expected to make up 47% of athletes, up from 45.4% in Beijing in 2022. Knowing that teams are strongest when they embrace the full range of gender diversity. That same spirit of inclusion must extend beyond the podium to schools, community fields, and policy-making spaces that ensure every girl, boy, woman, and man can participate fully and safely. When sport empowers everyone equally, it strengthens the foundation of sustainable and inclusive development for generations to come. Let us therefore harness the transformative power of sport to advance sustainable development, human rights, and peace and security. The Olympic spirit reminds us that fair competition can evaluate humanity, that dialogue can overcome division, and that every athlete's journey reflects the enduring resilience of human spirit. The resolution before this Assembly carries that same principle. It calls on all nations to uphold the Olympic truce as a moral compass, a call for ceasefire, for dialogue, and for renewed cooperation during and beyond Winter Games. May its implementation reaffirm our shared conviction that even in a divided world, unity remains possible, and respect for our common rules means that we all win. So we should remember, not only when cheering for the next Olympic medal at the beginning of next year, but also when you vote on the next resolutions in this hall, that playing by the rules is the life insurance for all of us. I thank you. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Italy to introduce draft resolution A/80/L10.
Madame President, dear delegates, I'm deeply honored to stand in front of you today alongside the IOC's new President, Kirsty Coventry, to introduce on behalf of Italy the draft resolution Building a Peaceful and Better World Through Sport and the Olympic Ideal. At a time of growing discord and conflict, sport and the Olympic Games can provide a beacon of hope, an alternative to rivalry and division. Yes, the Olympic Games are founded on competition and the pursuit of excellence. But throughout their history, they have demonstrated something even more powerful, a sense of humanity which transcends even the greatest of athletic achievements. At the Olympic Games in Innsbruck in 1964, the Italian bobsledder Eugenio Monti wrote his name into sporting history with an act of sportsmanship for which he became better known than his 6 Olympic medals. Twice, he was forced to settle for bronze when Italy might have won gold. First, by loaning the triumphant British two-man team a bolt for their broken sled, and then by offering a mechanical support to the Canadians who became champions in the four-man event. He went on to win 2 gold medals at the Grenoble Olympic Games in '68 and many World Championship titles. But he also became the first recipient of the Baron Pierre de Coubertin World Trophy in recognition of his remarkable display of selflessness. Monti's actions more than 60 years ago are a shining example of sports power to rise above rivalry and national boundaries. Of course, he was a winner. Of course, he wanted to win. But for him, the core Olympic values of excellence, friendship and respect mattered more than coming first. These values, embedded in the Olympic Charter, are one of the reasons why the Olympic Games are still able to show the world that there is an alternative to conflict. I personally witnessed the extraordinary power of the Games in Pyeongchang in 2018 when, in Casa Italia, we hosted Taekwondo athletes from the DPKR and the Republic of Korea. This is what the Olympic Charter stands for. Athletes from all over the world coming together in friendship and united by the power of sport. The draft resolution before you today notes the role of sport in inspiring individuals and communities to uphold these core values. It also acknowledges that the Olympic and Paralympic Games of Milan Cortina 2026 will be a unifying event to harness the power of sport. As President of the Organizing Committee for the Milano Cortina Winter Olympic and Paralympic Games 2026, I know we have a unique occasion and opportunity to promote the Olympic Truce and build an atmosphere of peace. For the first time in 2 decades, the Olympic and Paralympic Games will return to Italian soil in February and March next year. The circumstances in which we were awarded the Games in June 2019 were very, very different to the ones in which we'll stage them, after a global pandemic and because of new conflicts. It's my sincere hope that lo spirito italiano, the new and vibrant Italian spirit, which is at the center of our vision and mission, may conquer hearts and minds and inspire change. It is also my hope that the incredible athletic achievements we will witness next year, carved in the icy beauty of the Italian Alps, will inspire the whole world. Around 3,000 athletes from 91 countries will compete in the Olympic Games in 116 events, including a first ski mountaineering. 70 years after the Italian skier Giuliana Scenal Minuzzo became the first woman in Olympic history to recite the Olympic oath at the Cortina Winter Games in '56, Milano Cortina will be the most gender-balanced Winter Games in history. Meanwhile, next year's Paralympic Games will mark the winter edition's 50th anniversary with more than 660 athletes from 79 countries taking part in 6 sports. For half a century, the Paralympic Winter Games has broken down barriers and promoted inclusion in society. For Italy, the Games will deliver more than 300 legacy projects, improving accessibility for people with disabilities, upgrading transport infrastructure in towns and mountainous areas, and serving as a symbol for diversity and empowerment. Milano Cortina 2026 will be the first time the Olympic and Paralympic Games have been awarded to more than one city and will be held across several different regions and provinces. It's a unique opportunity for Italy to demonstrate to the world how different cultures can be united by sports. Unlike past games, athletes will stay in 8 different villages and clusters. In each, there will be a truce wall where they will be able to leave their signatures as a symbol of their commitment to peace. For me, this all underlines the core message of Milano Cortina 2026. Armonia, harmony. It's a message and principle which has deep roots in Italian culture and history. Renaissance artists, writers and philosophers like Michelangelo, Leonardo and Lorenzo de' Medici promoted universal themes of beauty, reason and harmony. By encouraging culture and dialogue over dogma, they laid the foundations for modern diplomacy and changed the perspective and put human beings and their dignity and respect first. These principles sit at the heart of this great institution and echo the cherished Olympic commitment to universality. Madam President, dear representatives of Member States, I wish to reiterate the message of non-violence according to the ancient Greek tradition of the Olympic Truce. I would like to thank all the delegations that have expressed their support and co-sponsored this draft resolution in close cooperation with the International Olympic Committee. And I humbly urge all members and delegates to support this resolution and to set aside differences and divisions and come together in harmony in Milano Cortina next year. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the distinguished representative of Italy and all the best for the preparations. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the European Union on behalf of the EU and its member states.
Madam President of the General Assembly, Madam President of the International Olympic Committee, I have the honour to deliver these remarks on behalf of the European Union and its member states. The candidate countries Turkey, North Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, Albania, Ukraine, the Republic of Moldova, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Georgia, as well as San Marino, align themselves with this statement. President, the European Union stands united in endorsing and fully supporting the adoption of this resolution by consensus under the leadership of Italy and in cooperation with all co-sponsors. The Olympic Truce, echoing the ancient Greek tradition of Olympiaki Ekechiria, serves as a powerful symbol of our collective commitment to peace, unity and understanding among nations during the period of the Olympic Games and beyond. It also embodies values that lie at the heart of the European project: peace, solidarity, dialogue, and human dignity. At a time when wars continue to cause immense suffering and when trust in international cooperation is being tested, this resolution serves as a powerful reminder that collective challenges require global responses. The European Union fully supports the objectives of the Olympic Truce to safeguard the neutrality and inclusivity of sport, to promote humanitarian access and protection during conflict, and to reaffirm that peaceful competition and cooperation are possible among nations. For more than 30 years, this initiative has linked the ideals of the ancient Olympic Games with the modern pursuit of peace. The European Union acknowledges the commendable merits of the Olympic ideal resolution and its potential to foster international cooperation, encourage dialogue, and mitigate conflicts during this prestigious global event. As a group that upholds the values of diplomacy, collaboration, and peaceful coexistence, the EU firmly believes that Olympic Truce aligns seamlessly with a dedication to a world where differences are resolved through open dialogue and mutual understanding. President, the European Union stands ready to work with the United Nations, the International Olympic Committee, and the International Olympic Truce Center, of which I had the immense privilege of being its first director, to bring these values into education, youth engagement, and conflict prevention. The European Union also welcomes the return of the Games to Europe throughout the decade, first from Paris in 2024, now to Milan, Cortina in 2026, and the French Alps in 2030, which gives us the opportunity to reflect our shared values with the Olympic movement and the responsibility to do so. As we look ahead to the Milan Cortina 2026 Games, we extend our best wishes to the government of Italy and to the organizing committee in their preparations. Additionally, we extend our heartfelt best wishes to all athletes who will participate in the Games, hoping for their success and a celebration of global unity. The European Union and its member states call on all nations to make the truce a living reality, in word, in spirit, and in action. Dear colleagues, sports unite us. Let us seize that unity to build a more peaceful and humane world. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the European Union. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Cyprus.
Thank you, Madam President. Cyprus welcomes the adoption of this resolution on building a peaceful and better world through sport and the Olympic ideal. And we are pleased to have joined others in co-sponsoring the resolution, and we extend our appreciation to Italy for its constructive guidance throughout the negotiations. Cyprus aligns itself with the statement just delivered by the representative of the European Union, and I wish to make the following remarks in national capacity. Sport is a universal language that brings people together across borders and cultures. It encourages values such as respect, fairness and friendship, while contributing to education, health, inclusion, gender equality and sustainable development. Just as culture fosters mutual understanding by celebrating the diversity of human expression, sport complements these efforts by creating shared experiences that transcend differences. Together, sport and culture serve as powerful drivers of dialogue, social cohesion, and peaceful coexistence. The Olympic and Paralympic movements continue to demonstrate how sporting competition can inspire progress and promote understanding among nations. The Olympic ideal itself draws from the heritage of ancient Greece, where the first Olympic Games were founded on principles of unity, respect, and peaceful competition. And the ancient tradition of Gehiria, the Olympic Truce, reminds us that even thousands of years ago, sport and culture were used to promote reconciliation and shared identity among diverse communities. And today, the reaffirmation of the Olympic Truce remains a powerful symbol, creating space for dialogue, tolerance and cooperation, and helping ensure safe access and participation for all those involved in the Games. Cyprus recognizes the important work carried out by the International Olympic Committee, the International Paralympic Committee and the United Nations in promoting human rights, youth engagement and inclusive participation through sport. And we particularly appreciate initiatives that advance gender equality and support persons with disabilities, helping extend the reach and impact of the Olympic values. We also welcome efforts to integrate culture into major sporting events, echoing the ancient Greek understanding that athletic excellence and cultural expression together form the foundation of human development and mutual respect. And as we look forward to the Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics and Paralympic Games, we are reminded of the positive influence that these events can have, not only in inspiring communities and strengthening international cooperation, but also in showcasing cultural diversity as a bridge between peoples. In conclusion, Cyprus reaffirms its commitment to supporting efforts that use sport and culture to foster peace, understanding, and solidarity worldwide. And we remain ready to work with all partners to continue advancing these shared ideals. And we wish every success to Italy in organising these games and to all competitors at the upcoming games. Thank you very much, Madam President.
I thank the distinguished representative of Cyprus. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Thailand.
Madam President, Thailand recognizes that sport is a powerful instrument for advancing peace, development, mutual understanding, and shared prosperity. We acknowledge that sport not only promotes physical fitness, mental well-being, and recreation, but also instills values such as fairness, inclusion, respect, perseverance, and teamwork. These are the very principles we collectively strive to uphold within the international community. Madam President, to further elaborate, Thailand wishes to make the following 3 points. First, Thailand reaffirms that sport is an important catalyst in achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Beyond its direct link to good health and well-being, sport also contributes to other sustainable development goals by advancing social inclusion, promoting gender equality, reducing inequalities, and fostering sustainable communities. In this regard, Thailand remains committed to our National Sport Development Plan, guided by the vision, sport to develop people, society, and drive economic prosperity. Through this 5-year plan, we are strengthening the sport industry toward inclusive and sustainable growth, leaving no one behind. Second, Thailand underscores the role of sport in promoting peace and social cohesion, especially among our young generation, the agents of change and possible future leaders. In Thailand, sport effectively engages youth, including those from at-risk groups, and promotes their inclusion within the community. Notable initiatives include the use of sport to facilitate the social reintegration of juvenile offenders, as well as programs that help young people and former juvenile offenders to develop their athletic potential and pursue careers as professional athletes. Third, Thailand reaffirms its commitment to further promoting development and peace through strengthening global and regional collaboration in the field of sport. In less than a month, Thailand will host the 33rd Southeast Asian Games, or SEA Games, followed by the 13th ASEAN Para Games in January next year in Bangkok, Chonburi Province, and Songkhla Province, under the theme Green SEA Games and Sustainable Paralympics. Thailand looks forward to showcasing regional athletic excellence while also promoting eco-friendly practices in sporting events, with an aim of becoming the most environmentally friendly host in the event's history. Thailand will focus on the efficient use of resources and the minimization of environmental impact through improved waste management, clean energy transportation, circular use of materials, reduced carbon emissions, and the development and implementation of sustainable sports venues and facilities, ensuring that sustainability is at the heart of the competition. These efforts underscore Thailand's long-standing commitment to sustainable development and highlight how sport can support this agenda to build more resilient and sustainable communities. Madam President, sport reminds us of our shared humanity and offers an opportunity to foster our common future. Thailand will continue to play our constructive part, not only to promote sport as a key driver of development and peace, but also to uphold the values it represents: fair play, equality, teamwork, and mutual respect as guiding principles in our international community. I thank you, Madam President.
I thank the distinguished representative of Thailand. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Kuwait.
شكرا سيدة الرئيسة. في وقت يواجه فيه عالمنا تحديات متزايدة وانقسامات متعمقة، تبقى الرياضة إحدى أقوى الأدوات القادرة على توحيد الإنسانية بما تحمله من قيم العدالة والتعاون والاحترام المتبادل، فهي تزرع في شبابنا روح الفريق واللعب النزيه، وتظهر أن التفاهم يمكن أن ينتصر على الخلافات، وأن التنافس الشريف يفتح آفاق السلام. وانطلاقا من هذا الإيمان ترى دولة الكويت أن الرياضة تتجاوز حدود المنافسة والميداليات، فهي رافعة لبناء الإنسان وتعزيز ثقافة السلام، وتجسد المبادئ الأولمبية القائمة على التوازن بين الجسد والعقل والإرادة، وهي ذاتها القيم التي تقوم عليها التنمية المستدامة التي نعمل جميعا لتحقيقها. السيدة الرئيسة، أطلقت دولة الكويت من خلال الهيئة العامة للرياضة وبالتعاون مع برنامج الأمم المتحدة الإنمائي الاستراتيجية الوطنية للرياضة 2022 إلى 2028، وهي إطار شامل يهدف إلى تعزيز المؤسسات الرياضية وتمكين الشباب وضمان تكافؤ الفرص في ممارسة الرياضة للجميع، كما تهدف إلى تطوير البنية التحتية وتشجيع الابتكار وربط الرياضة بالتعليم والصحة والمجتمع، بما ينسجم يشهد الاتحاد الرياضي المدرسي منذ عام 2022 نشاطا متزايدا جعل التربية البدنية جزءا أساسيا في بناء الشخصية وتنمية قيم العمل الجماعي واحترام التنوع، كما تشجع البرامج الوطنية على العمل التطوعي والوعي البيئي من خلال مبادرات رياضية مجتمعية تجمع بين اللياقة البدنية وخدمة المجتمع، ترسيخا لمفهوم الرياضة كمسؤولية إنسانية. السيدة الرئيسة، تضع دولة الكويت تمكين المرأة في الرياضة ضمن أولوياتها، إدراكا بأن الرياضة أداة لبناء الثقة والقيادة. وفي هذا الإطار أنشئت لجنة رياضة المرأة الكويتية عام 2019، وتم تعديل الأنظمة الأساسية للاتحادات الرياضية لضمان تمثيل المرأة في مجالس إداراتها، ودمج البطولات النسائية ضمن المنافسات الرسمية، إلى جانب إطلاق برامج تدريب وتأهيل متخصصة في مجالات التحكيم والإدارة الرياضية. وقد توجت هذه الجهود بمشاركة كويتية مشرفة في أولمبياد باريس 2024 جسدتها مجموعة من اللاعبات اللواتي رفعن علم الوطن بفخر في خطوة تعبر عن التزام وطني راسخ بالمساواة والتمكين. والتحدث إليكم اليوم كامرأة كويتية شهدت عن قرب ما تحقق من تقدم في مسيرة تمكين المرأة في المجال الرياضي، واستفادت من البيئة الداعمة التي وفرتها بلادي لتطوير القدرات وتعزيز روح الفريق والانضباط والمثابرة، تلك القيم التي تغرس فينا من خلال الرياضة قبل أن تعلم في القاعات. فالرياضة بالنسبة لنا ليست نشاطا بدنيا فحسب، بل مدرسة للحياة تنمي الثقة بالنفس وروح التعاون والإصرار على تحقيق الأفضل، وهي ذات القيم التي تسعى دولة الكويت إلى ترسيخها في أجيالها القادمة. السيدة الرئيسة، وفي إطار التزام دولة الكويت بتسخير الرياضة كجسر للتفاهم والسلام، شهدت مدينة الكويت مؤخرا تنظيم النسخة الأولى من المبادرة الأممية الدبلوماسية كرة القدم الإنسانية Football for Humanity برعاية معالي وزير الخارجية وبالشراكة مع منظومة الأمم المتحدة في دولة الكويت، بما في ذلك اليونيسف واليونسكو ومنظمة الصحة العالمية والبرنامج الأمم المتحدة الإنمائي. وهدفت المبادرة إلى دعم الأطفال والشباب في دولة فلسطين من خلال برامج رياضية ومجتمعية تسهم في بناء الثقة وتعزيز الأمل وتمكين الجيل الناشئ. وتجسد هذه المبادرة رؤية الكويت في توظيف الرياضة كقوة ناعمة للدبلوماسية الإنسانية وأداة لترميم المجتمعات المتأثرة بالنزاعات. السيدة الرئيسة، إن الرياضة لغة عالمية توحد الشعوب وتذكرنا بأن التنافس لا يلغي الصداقة، وأن الفوز الحقيقي يكمن في بناء عالم أكثر عدلا وسلاما. ففي الميادين الرياضية يقف الجميع على أرض واحدة تحكمها قواعد واحدة ويتنافسون على أساس الجهد والالتزام لا على أساس القوة أو المكانة، وهي الصورة التي نرجو أن تمتد إلى علاقات الأمم فيما بينها. ومن هذا المنطلق تؤكد دولة الكويت دعمها الكامل لجهود الأمم المتحدة لتعزيز الرياضة من أجل التنمية والسلام، وتأييدها لمبدأ الهدنة الأولمبية باعتباره رمزاً لاحترام الإنسان وروح المساواة التي تجمعنا جميعاً. وفي الختام تؤمن دولة الكويت بأن الاستثمار في الشباب والرياضة هو الاستثمار الأمثل في مستقبل يسوده السلام والازدهار، وتؤكد التزامها بمواصلة العمل مع المجتمع الدولي لتوسيع دور الرياضة كقوة دافعة للتنمية البشرية وبناء التفاهم بين الشعوب. شكرا سيد الرئيس.
I thank the distinguished representative of Kuwait. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Maldives.
Thank you, Madam President. Sport is a common language of unity, resilience, and development. It is one of the few arenas where people and nations meet as equals, guided by rules and respect. The principles of the Olympic ideal, respect, friendship, and excellence, reflect the values we strive to uphold as a nation. In the Maldives, sport connects our islands and strengthens our communities. It uplifts our youth and teaches discipline, resilience, and respect. We want every Maldivian, especially women, girls, and persons with disabilities, to have the chance to participate and to excel. The Maldives considers 3 priorities for harnessing sport for peace and development. First, we must reinforce global adherence to Olympic Truce. Too often, while athletes unite the world on the field of play, conflicts continue without pause. The truce should create space for peace, dialogue, and humanitarian access. Closer cooperation among the United Nations and the Olympic Committee and the International Paralympic Committee and member states is essential to move from aspiration to practice. If sport can bring divided stadiums together, it can help bring nations closer and soften divisions across borders. The Maldives therefore reaffirm its support for the Olympic Truce. Second, we must confront persistent inequalities in and through sport. Too many women, girls, and persons with disabilities still face barriers to participation, leadership, and visibility. The challenge is seldom talent or ambition. It is the opportunity we need: inclusive and accessible facilities in every community and safe environments for all. At home this year, we amended the Maldives Sports Act to broaden inclusion and decentralize opportunities. New programs are expanding pathways for para-athletes, digitalizing talent development, and integrating inclusive physical education more widely across schools. In doing so, we move forward on Sustainable Development Goal 5, on gender equality, and Goal 10 on reducing inequalities. Third, we must use sport more deliberately as an engine for sustainable development goals. This means embedding sport in public policy, in education, community planning, health, youth development, and resilience building. In the Maldives, a 20-year sports development roadmap with 191 projects underway is helping to ensure that every community has access to safe and meaningful spaces for play, training, and healthy living style. The National Sports Fund supports sustained and equitable investment in athlete development, while nationwide communities' fitness initiatives promote physical and mental well-being. When we invest in sport in this way, we advance several of the SDGs together, stride by stride. Today, it is therefore not only about what has been achieved, it is about recognizing the work that remains and the responsibility we share to take it forward together. The Maldives believes in the power of sport to heal, to unite, and to remind us of our shared humanity. Through sport, we can help build a fairer, safer, and better world that we owe to the next generations. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Maldives. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Singapore.
Madam President, my delegation expresses our appreciation to Italy for their work on the draft resolution titled Building a Peaceful and Better World Through Sport and our Olympic Ideal. Singapore is pleased to continue our co-sponsorship of this draft resolution, and we wish Italy every success hosting the 2026 Winter Olympic and Paralympic Games. Singapore reaffirms its steadfast support for multilateralism and for the Olympic ideals of excellence, respect, and friendship. Sport remains a powerful platform that brings communities together, transcends boundaries, and fosters shared understanding. At a time of heightened global tensions, the Olympic Truce and the unifying principles of sport are more essential than ever in promoting dialogue and cooperation among nations. Madam President, Singapore is honored to have contributed actively to the global sporting landscape this year. We have hosted major competitions like the World Aquatics Championships and the Toyota World Para-Swimming Championships, bringing together thousands of athletes and supporters from all over the world. We also continue to collaborate with industry partners to strengthen our technology ecosystem and solidify Singapore's position as a hub for innovation in sport and fitness. Singapore remains committed to harnessing sport as a driver of national development and social cohesion. We strongly believe in sports for all, where sport should be inclusive, affordable, and accessible, regardless of age, ability, gender, or social status. Under Vision 2030, we continue to advance sport as a platform for healthy living and lifelong participation. We have launched various national initiatives to provide the community with affordable access to quality programs and enable everyone, including those in vulnerable circumstances, to experience the benefits of sport. We have also embarked on a major redevelopment project to transform one of Singapore's national sporting precincts into an integrated sports and lifestyle hub, strengthening long-term infrastructure and broadening access to sport. Furthermore, through the Disability Sports Master Plan 2024, we aim to raise disability sport participation, deepen representation at major games, and foster a more cohesive society. This reflects our belief that inclusive ecosystems affirm dignity and empowerment for all. These efforts also support wider global objectives under the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, particularly in promoting health and inclusion. As we speak, Singapore is also preparing for the upcoming Southeast Asian Games, which will be hosted by Thailand. Our delegation of athletes and para-athletes will compete with dedication and pride as they represent the aspirations of our nation. We extend our best wishes to all athletes across the region and look forward to celebrating their displays of sportsmanship and fortitude. Madam President, Singapore remains deeply committed to the belief that sport holds a unique power to unite humanity. As we look toward the 2026 Winter Olympic and Paralympic Games and beyond, let us continue to ensure that the spirit of sport inspires peace, strengthens solidarity, and empowers all people to realize their fullest potential. Together, let us build not only better athletes, but a better world for future generations. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Singapore. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Monaco.
Madame la Présidente de l'Assemblée générale, Madame la Présidente du Comité international olympique, Excellences, chers collègues, je ne saurais débuter mes propos sans adresser mes plus sincères félicitations à Madame Kirsty Coventry pour son élection à la présidence du Comité international olympique. Première femme accédant à ce poste, première présidente du continent africain, l'élection de Madame Coventry marque ainsi l'histoire du sport mondial d'une empreinte d'inclusivité et d'espoir. Son élection est une source d'inspiration pour les générations de jeunes filles et de femmes, non seulement dans le monde du sport, mais également dans celui de la gouvernance mondiale. Ma délégation se réjouit de continuer à collaborer avec le Comité international olympique pour continuer à bâtir un monde meilleur par le sport. Madame la Présidente, je tiens également à féliciter l'Italie pour avoir facilité la résolution « Édification d'un monde meilleur et pacifique par le sport et l'idéal olympique ». Par cette résolution, dont Monaco s'est porté co-auteur, elle appelle notamment au respect de la trêve olympique, individuellement et collectivement, dans le cadre de l'organisation en 2026 des Jeux olympiques et paralympiques d'hiver Milano-Cortina. Les principes de la Charte des Nations unies et le but de l'olympisme se rejoignent dans la recherche d'un monde pacifique meilleur. Dès l'origine, l'olympisme a été associé à la paix et à la suspension des conflits. La trêve devait ainsi permettre à chaque athlète de se rendre en toute sécurité sur le site des Jeux afin de participer aux compétitions sportives pacifiques. En renouvelant avec cette tradition depuis 1993, le CIO et l'Assemblée générale nous invitent, tous les 2 ans, à élever le sport au-dessus des conflits pour le mettre au service de la paix. Cet appel à la trêve olympique nous engage autour de ce qui nous unit, et notamment autour des valeurs d'excellence, d'amitié et de respect. Ma délégation est dès lors particulièrement attachée à ce que cette résolution demeure inscrite de manière pérenne à l'agenda des Nations unies, afin que l'esprit de la trêve olympique continue de guider durablement notre action collective en faveur de la paix. Madame la Présidente, le sport fait partie intégrante de l'identité de Monaco. La désignation de la principauté en qualité de capitale mondiale du sport 2025 consacre la politique volontariste du gouvernement princier envers le développement et la promotion du sport. Cette politique est portée par son Altesse Sérénissime, le prince Albert II de Monaco, qui a toujours affirmé son engagement en faveur du sport au service de la paix et du développement durable. Le gouvernement princier encourage le sport à l'école, favorisant l'éducation par l'activité physique. Il promeut aussi le bien-être via la pratique sportive, en proposant des équipements publics accessibles à tous, et il encourage l'esprit de compétition en soutenant les athlètes de haut niveau et en accueillant des événements sportifs internationaux. Le sport constitue un puissant catalyseur de développement, dépassant les frontières culturelles et nationales pour devenir un vecteur d'inclusion, de paix, d'égalité et d'autonomisation. Permettez-moi de rappeler que le sport a été reconnu comme un outil d'autonomisation des femmes dans le programme d'action de Pékin dont nous célébrons le 30e anniversaire cette année. À cet égard, je salue les efforts continus du Comité international olympique pour faire avancer l'égalité des genres dans le sport. En 2024, une étape historique a été franchie dans la parité hommes-femmes des athlètes s'agissant des Jeux olympiques et paralympiques d'été de Paris. Cette avancée se poursuit puisque les Jeux olympiques et paralympiques Milano-Cortina devraient être les Jeux d'hiver les plus équilibrés en termes de représentation hommes-femmes à ce jour, avec 47% de femmes parmi les athlètes. Le renforcement de la visibilité et de la participation des femmes et des filles dans le domaine du sport contribue à la promotion de l'égalité hommes-femmes. C'est la raison pour laquelle la Principauté soutient le mouvement Sport for Generation Equality, lancé par ONU Femmes, qui œuvre à renforcer la participation des femmes et des filles dans toutes les sphères du sport, des terrains de jeu aux postes de direction. Enfin, nous nous réjouissons de la participation d'une équipe de réfugiés à cette édition des Jeux d'hiver, et félicitons l'engagement du CIO, via la Olympic Refuge Foundation, d'assurer l'accès au sport à des jeunes déplacés sur tous les continents. Madame la Présidente, bien plus qu'une activité physique, le sport incarne des valeurs universelles et agit comme un levier puissant de développement durable. Le rôle du sport à cet égard a été reconnu à maintes reprises au sein de notre organisation, qu'il s'agisse de l'agenda 2030 ou encore du pacte pour l'avenir. Il importe à ma délégation de souligner la contribution du CIO à la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable, notamment par sa stratégie Olympisme 365 qui intègre l'égalité des genres, la diversité et l'inclusion dans ses projets. Par ailleurs, la vision du CIO dans son agenda 2020+5 intègre la durabilité et la réduction de l'empreinte carbone des Jeux. Nous tenons également à saluer l'engagement des Jeux de Milano-Cortina pour ces mesures visant à réduire l'impact écologique, à promouvoir des infrastructures résilientes face au changement climatique et à garantir des avantages durables pour les populations locales et pour les générations futures. Ces convergences démontrent que le sport et la durabilité partagent une même ambition, celle d'un avenir responsable et solidaire. Madame la Présidente, nous avons tous ici une responsabilité. Faire vivre l'esprit de la trêve au-delà des stades et des cérémonies. Que ce soit pour protéger les athlètes et les jeunes, encourager l'éducation, promouvoir l'inclusion ou la durabilité, le sport est un langage d'humanité. C'est tout le sens de l'engagement de Monaco au sein du groupe d'amis du sport pour le développement durable et de son soutien aux initiatives du CIO visant à renforcer la gouvernance du sport et à promouvoir un environnement sportif éthique, sûr et solidaire. Vous pouvez compter sur ma délégation pour continuer de veiller à ce que le rôle du sport soit dûment pris en compte dans l'agenda politique et les activités des Nations Unies. Je vous remercie.
Merci. I thank the distinguished representative of Monaco. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Tunisia.
شكرا سيدة الرئيسة. تحتفي هذه الجلسة بالقيم السامية للسلام والتعاون الإنساني من خلال الرياضة والمثل الأولمبي. تؤمن تونس بأن الرياضة هي لغة عالمية قادرة على توحيد الشعوب وتعزيز التضامن الإنساني، وهي وسيلة فاعلة لبناء جسور الثقة والصداقة بين الأمم في عالم تتزايد فيه التحديات والانقسامات. لقد أثبتت التجارب الدولية ومن أبرزها الألعاب الأولمبية أن الرياضة قادرة على تجاوز الفوارق الجغرافية والثقافية، وأن كل منافسة نزيهة تحمل رسالة سلام واحترام متبادل. وفي هذا السياق تعبر تونس عن تقديرها العميق لكل الرياضيين الذين يسهمون بإنجازاتهم في نشر روح التسامح والتفاهم، وتوجه تحية فخر واعتزاز للرياضيين التونسيين الذين رفعوا راية تونس في المحافل الإقليمية والدولية مجسدين قيم الانضباط والتميز والإصرار. السيدة الرئيسة، تعتبر تونس أن الرياضة رافعة للتنمية المستدامة ومجال لتعزيز الاندماج الاجتماعي وتمكين الشباب والنساء، فالرياضة تعلم قيم التعاون والاحترام والانفتاح، وتسهم في نشر ثقافة السلام ونبذ العنف والتطرف، وتفتح أمام الأجيال الصاعدة آفاقا جديدة للتعارف وللأمل والإبداع. ومن هذا المنطلق تعمل تونس على إدماج الرياضة في سياستها الوطنية للتربية والشباب والصحة، وعلى دعم المبادرات المجتمعية التي تستخدم الرياضة كأداة للتنمية المحلية وتعزيز الانسجام الاجتماعي. كما تولي تونس اهتماما خاصا برياضييها من ذوي الاحتياجات الخصوصية أو ما نسميه في تونس ذوي الهمم، الذين أثبتوا بجدارتهم أن الإرادة الإنسانية أقوى من كل الحواجز، وأن الرياضة مجال للإدماج وليس للتمييز أو الإقصاء. وتؤكد تونس أن دعم هؤلاء الرياضيين وتمكينهم هو واجب وطني وإنساني يجسد قيم العدالة والمساواة. السيدة الرئيسة، إن مشروع القرار المعروض اليوم أمام الجمعية العامة يحمل رؤية إنسانية متجددة، أن الرياضة استثمار في الإنسان ومدخل لتعزيز التنمية والسلام. وتؤيد تونس هذا المشروع لما يتضمنه من مبادئ نبيلة وتدعو إلى مزيد من التعاون بين الدول والمنظمات الدولية وخاصة اللجنة الأولمبية الدولية من أجل توسيع فرص المشاركة أمام الشباب في الدول النامية وضمان تكافؤ الفرص للجميع. وتجدد تونس دعمها للمبادئ التي يقوم عليها الميثاق الأولمبي وحرصها على تعزيز مفهوم الهدنة الأولمبية كرمز عالمي للوحدة والسلام، كما تعبر عن استعدادها لمواصلة العمل مع الشركاء الدوليين لتوظيف الرياضة في خدمة القيم الإنسانية المشتركة وفي بناء عالم يسوده الاحترام المتبادل والتضامن بين الشعوب. ختاما، السيدة الرئيسة، تؤكد تونس أن الرياضة ليست غاية في ذاتها وإنما وسيلة لتحقيق السلام والتنمية والكرامة الإنسانية. ومن هذه القاعة حيث تتلاقى أصوات الدول وإراداتها تجدد تونس قناعاتها بأن الرياضة بقيمها النبيلة وتنوع اختصاصاتها قادرة على إحياء الأمل وتوحيد الإنسانية في سعيها نحو عالم أكثر عدلا وتوازنا. وشكرا.
I thank the distinguished representative of Tunisia. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Lebanon.
Madam President, as excitement grows over major global sporting events, notably next year's FIFA World Cup in the United States, Mexico, and Canada, with the final scheduled to take place in New York, international attention is once again turning to the role of sports as a catalyst for development and cooperation. In this context, Lebanon has placed sport at the highest of its priorities and is engaging in discussions and initiatives aimed at modernizing the sector, expanding participation, and positioning sport as an area of growth and opportunity. Just last week, under the patronage of President Aoun, the Ministry of Youth and Sports convened the National Sports Conference entitled Toward a National Strategy for Sport in Lebanon, recognizing the central role of youth and sports in the country's development. Lebanon's renewed focus on sports mirrors the successes and commitment of its athletes across diverse fields. Madam President, as we speak about sport, it is of utmost importance to speak about women and girls in sports. Despite the breakthroughs that women and girls have made across the spectrum, many barriers still stand in their way. Lebanon's national volleyball player, Lin Zaou, highlighted it in the best way, and I quote, "And of course, you have the stereotypes. So many people underestimate us because we are women. I remember this one time I was watching a men's volleyball game, and then the commentator during the rally says, 'What a girly rally.'" End of quote. These remarks underscore how outdated perceptions persist, even as women athletes excel. In this very case, the volleyball Lebanese volleyball team went on to secure a first-place finish in the West Asia Championship, an achievement that placed Lebanon firmly on the regional sporting map. Madam President, the conversation on inclusion in sports must also extend to persons with disabilities who continue to face systemic barriers to participation. The Lebanese team's presence in the Japan Deaflympics last week powerfully underscored the importance of making sports accessible to all. Their presence on this global stage not only demonstrated the remarkable talent and determination of athletes with disabilities, but also reminded us of our collective responsibility to eliminate the obstacles that limit equal participation. Madam President, sport is more than just a game. It is a powerful tool for inclusion and development. Whether we are speaking about women and girls breaking barriers, athletes with disabilities demonstrating resilience, or entire nations striving for excellence, the message is clear. Sport is for everyone without exception. In closing, we thank Italy for presenting and facilitating this draft resolution that Lebanon has joined as co-sponsor. The Olympic ideal teaches us that inclusion, peace, and mutual respect are not abstract values, but lived practices even in moments of rivalry. As we look to Milan Cortina Winter Olympics and Paralympics, the Olympic Truce reminds us that the only gunshot that should echo is the one that starts a race. And I thank you, Madam President.
I thank the distinguished representative of Lebanon. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Rwanda.
Madam President, Excellencies, delegates, I wish to start off by congratulating the President of the International Olympic Committee, Madam Coventry. Welcome to New York and all the best in your tenure. Rwanda takes the floor today with conviction. Sport is not a luxury. It is a political instrument, a diplomatic bridge, and a strategic investment in peace and human development. For Rwanda, this is not a theory. It is our lived experience. A nation that rose from the ashes of genocide understands, more than most, the power of sport to rebuild a broken people, to restore trust, to unite communities, and to inspire a new generation to believe in itself again. At a time when our social fabric was most fragile, it was sports on our hills, in our villages, in our schools, that helped us move from trauma to resilience, from despair to renewed national purpose. Today, Rwanda stands as a strong advocate and a practical example of how sports can transform societies. We have built national unity through sports. We have empowered women and youth through sports. We have positioned sport as a driver of economic transformation, from tourism to infrastructure, from innovation to global partnerships. Excellencies, in a world increasingly divided, where conflicts are multiplying and the trust between nations is eroding, sports remain one of the few global languages capable of lowering tensions and creating common ground. Rwanda believes that the international community must treat sports as an essential tool of preventive diplomacy, peace building, and social cohesion, not as an afterthought. This is why Rwanda has made strategic and deliberate investments that continue to deliver continental and global impact. Hosting the Basketball Africa League and becoming a regional hub for professional sports, investing in world-class facilities which host world-class sports events, supporting initiatives that rehabilitate vulnerable youth, including those affected by conflict and displacement, championing gender equality, ensuring women and girls access leadership and opportunity through sports, among others. These are not symbolic actions. These are policy choices grounded in Rwanda's belief that sports is human capital development and a pathway to dignity, especially for Africa's youth. Madam President, Rwanda offers the following perspectives. First, we call for greater equity and inclusion in the global sports architecture. Many developing nations remain structurally excluded from opportunity and visibility. Rwanda urges deliberate support for infrastructure financing, technology transfer, and capacity building to level the playing field. We also encourage the strengthened and effective implementation of global frameworks, including the United Nations Action Plan on Sports for Development and Peace, to ensure sports remain equitable and empowering for all nations, not just some. Second, Rwanda urges greater investment from member states to unlock sports' full potential as an enabler of the Sustainable Development Goals. This includes scaling up access for women, girls, persons with disabilities, and marginalized communities. Equally, we support advancing the role of sports as a wider environmental stewardship, welcoming all initiatives that integrate sustainable practice into the sports ecosystem. Sports can and must be used as a platform to inspire climate awareness and environmental action, especially for young people. Third, Rwanda underscores the importance of upholding neutrality of sports. We urge member states to resist attempts to politicize sporting partnerships and collaborations. Such politicization does nothing except undermine the far-reaching social and economic benefits of sports and risks reversing collective progress at a moment when developing nations are already underrepresented in opportunity and global attention. Excellencies, Rwanda's own journey shows that peace is built one step at a time, one community at a time, and often one game at a time. Sports can break barriers where politics fails. It can heal where institutions struggle. It can unify where history has divided. As we look ahead, Rwanda reaffirms its readiness to work with all partners to unlock the transformative power of sports. By investing in its ability to inspire hope, strengthen our communities, and advance inclusive development, we can contribute to a future rooted in unity, opportunity, and shared prosperity for all. I wish the next organizer of Olympic Games every success. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the distinguished representative of Rwanda. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Guyana.
Thank you, Madam President. And Guyana is pleased to have once again co-sponsored this resolution and welcomes its adoption. My delegation also commends Italy for spearheading the consultation process that facilitated the passage of this important text. We're particularly pleased that the text includes a commitment to advance the 2026 Games by utilizing measures aimed at reducing environmental impact and promoting resilient and sustainable infrastructure to ensure lasting benefits for local populations and future generations. The International Olympic Committee's dedication to promoting gender equality in sports and its intention to allocate near equal quota places to male and female athletes are also commendable. This will further reinforce the role of the Games in promoting equal opportunities and embracing the fundamental principles of the Olympic Charter. We therefore extend our best wishes to Italy for hosting the 2026 Winter Olympic Games. Madam President, sports is a powerful unifying force and consequently facilitates peace, which is necessary to advance sustainable development. Guyana recognizes the importance of utilizing all available means, including sports and the Olympic ideas, to encourage and propagate peace, particularly during this period of increased armed conflicts. History offers many compelling examples of sports' potential to bridge differences. The use of ping-pong diplomacy, table tennis, to promote dialogue, and Nelson Mandela's deployment of rugby as a peace-building measure to mend deep racial divides in South Africa are notable examples. Madam President, recognizing the unifying role of sports both locally and internationally, the government of Guyana has increased its investment and development in nurturing athletic talents and promoting wellness to elevate Guyana's profile on the global sporting stage. We've prioritized increased funding to local sports fraternities within the Guyana Olympic Association, the construction of new stadiums, and the enhancement of athletic and recreational facilities throughout the country. In addition, Guyana will organize and host the third edition of the Global Super League in 2026. This is a cricket tournament created to transcend borders and to promote global unity among other ideas similar to the principles set out in the Olympic Charter. To date, the league, which is an initiative championed by His Excellency President Ali, has attracted teams from Australia, New Zealand, Bangladesh, and Dubai. We therefore invite all of you to Guyana for this tournament. Although cricket will not feature in the 2026 Games in Italy, we welcome the decision by the Olympic Committee, following much advocacy, to include the sport in the 2028 Olympic Games in Australia. Cricket's lone appearance was in Paris in 1900. We also welcome the inclusion of baseball, flag football, lacrosse, and squash. These additions will provide exposure for thousands of young athletes and further inspire future generations to embrace the values of the Olympic ideas. In closing, let us continue to promote sport as a unifier and a peace builder. Let us take its example of firm adherence to rules, including those that govern the behavior of players, as we reiterate our commitment to the Olympic Charter. And, Madam President, allow me to extend Happy International Men's Day to all colleagues. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Guyana. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Bahrain.
أود بداية أن أشكركم على عقد هذه المناقشة الهامة حول الرياضة من أجل التنمية والسلام، وتقدم بالشكر أيضا إلى الجمهورية الإيطالية على تقديم مشروع القرار المعنون بناء عالم يسوده السلام والرفاه من خلال الرياضة والمثل الأعلى الأولمبي، والذي قام وفد بلادي برعايته. سيد الرئيس، تسهم الرياضة في تعزيز التفاهم والوحدة بين الدول والشعوب، فهي رمز للقيم الإنسانية المشتركة كالتميز والصداقة والاحترام، وتشكل جسرا للحوار والسلام والتعايش السلمي. تحت قيادة حضرة صاحب الجلالة الملك حمد بن عيسى آل خليفة مملكة البحرين المعظم، وتوجيهات صاحب السمو الملكي الأمير سلمان بن حمد آل خليفة ولي العهد رئيس مجلس الوزراء، تجدد مملكة البحرين التزامها بالتفاعل مع المبادرات الدولية التي تعزز دور الرياضة في دعم السلام والتنمية على المستوى العالمي، وتجسيدا لرؤية المملكة في دعم المجتمع الدولي لإبراز مكانة الرياضة وأهميتها في حياة الشعوب. وفي سياق هذه الجهود اعتمدت الجمعية العامة للأمم المتحدة في مايو 2023 قرارا بتخصيص يوم 25 مايو من كل عام اليوم العالمي لكرة القدم بمبادرة مشتركة من مملكة البحرين ودولة ليبيا وجمهورية طاجكستان، وحظي هذا القرار بدعم واسع من قبل 170 دولة. وعلى غرار هذه الرؤية وجه سمو الشيخ ناصر بن حمد آل خليفة ممثل جلالة الملك للأعمال الإنسانية وشؤون الشباب رئيس المجلس الأعلى للشباب والرياضة باعتماد الخطة الاستراتيجية للقطاع الرياضي 2026، والتي تهدف إلى تحقيق التميز ورفع مستوى الأداء الرياضي محليا ودوليا، والتي تركز على 4 سياسات أساسية هي صناعة الأبطال من خلال توفير العلوم الرياضية، تطوير المهارات والقدرات على المدى الطويل، إدارة المواهب الرياضية، وجعل الرياضة أسلوب حياة لنشر أنماط الحياة الصحية وتعزيز وعي المجتمع بأهمية ممارسة الرياضة. السيد الرئيس، وإيمانا منها بالمثل الأعلى الأولمبي وبالفرص التي تتيحها الرياضة في دعم التعاون، تواصل المملكة تنفيذ رؤية شاملة تجعل من الرياضة أداة لتعزيز السلام والتنمية وتمكين الإنسان وترسيخ ثقافة الرياضة في حياة الطفل والشباب والناشئة، وإيمانا بدورها في قرص القيم الإيجابية وبناء جيل أكثر وعيا وصحة وقدرة على الإسهام في نهضة مجتمعه. وفي هذا السياق استضافت المملكة في أكتوبر 2025 دورة الألعاب الآسيوية بمشاركة آلاف الرياضيين بمختلف الدول الآسيوية في حدث جسد شعار الوحدة من خلال الرياضة. وكما استضافت المملكة في أبريل 2025 البطولة العالمية لتحدي البوتشا بمشاركة نخبة من اللاعبين الدوليين، تأكيدا التزامها بتهيئة بيئة رياضية دامجة تتيح لذوي الإعاقة إبراز قدراتهم وتحقيق التميز في إطار دعمها لشمولية الرياضة ودمج الأشخاص ذوي الهمم. ويأتي هذا التوجه امتدادا لجهود سمو الشيخ خالد بن حمد آل خليفة النائب الأول لرئيس المجلس الأعلى للشباب والرياضة رئيس اللجنة الأولمبية البحرينية، الذي يواصل دعم المبادرات الرامية إلى تعزيز مشاركة الشباب والمرأة وذوي الهمم في مختلف الأنشطة الرياضية، وترسيخ حضور البحرين في المحافل الدولية من خلال نهج يقوم على التميز والانضباط وروح الفريق الواحد. وتؤكد هذه الاستضافات أن مملكة البحرين تنظر إلى الرياضة باعتبارها ركيزة أساسية للتنمية البشرية والمجتمعية وأداة فاعلة في تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة. ختاما، تؤمن مملكة البحرين إيمانا راسخا بأن الرياضة ليست مجرد منافسة، بل رسالة إنسانية نبيلة تعزز السلام وتقرب الشعوب وتلهم الأجيال نحو حاضر ومستقبلا أكثر ازدهارا. وشكرا سيد الرئيس.
I thank the distinguished representative of Bahrain. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of China.
主席，体育是超越国界、种族、文明的人类共同语言。奥林匹克运动诞生之初，就刻入了和平与友谊的基因。自1993年以来，联大15次通过奥林匹克休战决议，呼吁在奥运会期间遵守奥林匹克休战传统，停止一切战争行为。当前世界既不太平也不安宁，地区安全热点此起彼伏。联大通过休战决议，共同发出和平呼声，具有十分重要的现实意义。中方欢迎意大利提交的奥林匹克休战决议草案，并参与共提。衷心祝愿2026年米兰科尔蒂纳冬奥会取得圆满成功。我们支持以奥林匹克休战为契机，以对话代替对立，以包容消弭分歧，增进不同国家和人民交流沟通、理解信任。我们也呼吁恪守体育运动政治中立原则，摒弃将奥运赛事和体育政治化的行为。联合国成立80年，提醒人们，世界和平来之不易，人类团结弥足珍贵。奥林匹克运动倡导的更团结，正是当今时代最需要的。真正的多边主义、真诚的团结合作，是避免重蹈大战覆辙、破解全球性挑战的正确答案。我们要以体育为纽带，进一步深化和平、团结与包容的理念，让奥林匹克的光辉照亮世界的每一个角落，共同维护世界和平与安宁，促进全人类发展与进步。主席，中国国家主席习近平指出，奥林匹克精神是人类文明的重要内容，寄托着各国人民对建设更美好世界的期盼，同中方推动构建人类命运共同体的远景高度契合。中方始终是奥林匹克精神的坚定践行者、维护者、传播者。从北京冬奥会到成都大运会、杭州亚运会、哈尔滨亚冬会、成都世运会，中国近年连续举办多场国际体育赛事，为全球体育事业注入了新的活力，也为动荡不安的世界带来了信心。第15届全国运动会正在粤、港、澳3地联合举办，中华体育健儿在赛场上顽强拼搏、携手追梦，生动诠释了中华体育精神和奥林匹克精神。中方将以习近平主席提出的全球治理倡议为引领， 继续统筹推进体育强国建设和奥林匹克运动发展，为全球体育治理贡献更多智慧和力量，为构建人类命运共同体做出更大贡献。谢谢主席。
I thank the distinguished representative of China. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the United Arab Emirates.
السيد الرئيس، أود بداية أن أتوجه إليكم بالشكر على عقد هذا الاجتماع المهم، كما أود الإشادة بجهود إيطاليا في تيسير مشروع القرار المطروح تحت هذا البند، وكما نؤكد أيضا تمنياتنا لها بالتوفيق في استضافة دورة الألعاب الأولمبية والبارالمبية الشتوية في ميلان وكورتينا عام 2026. إن دولة الإمارات تؤمن بأن الرياضة ليست مجرد نشاط بدني مهم، بل هي أداة فاعلة لتعزيز الوحدة والرفاهية والارتقاء بالإنسان. وانطلاقا من هذا النهج، عملت الإمارات على توفير بيئة داعمة للتمييز الرياضي على المستويات الوطنية والإقليمية والدولية، حيث ستستضيف قريبا ألعاب الماسترز المفتوحة في عام 2026 في أبو ظبي، والتي تعد أكبر وأشمل حدث رياضي دولي ينظم في منطقة الشرق الأوسط. إن تأثير الرياضة يتجاوز ميادين اللعب، فهي مصدر للأمل ووسيلة لتغليب الحوار على النزاع وتعزيز التلاقي بدلا من الانقسام. ويتجسد هذا المفهوم في الهدنة الأولمبية التي تدعو إلى وقف الأعمال العدائية خلال فترة الألعاب، وهي دعوة تكتسب أهمية أكبر اليوم في ظل تصاعد الاستقطاب والنزاعات حول العالم. وترى دولة الإمارات في الرياضة قوة دافعة لترسيخ قيم التسامح والشمولية والتعايش السلمي وتعزيز صمود المجتمعات والحد من أسباب النزاع. ومن خلال أجندة التسامح والسلام والأمن المستندة إلى قرار مجلس الأمن 2686، أكدت الإمارات أهمية الاستثمار في العمل الوقائي عبر معالجة مسببات النزاعات قبل تفاقمها، ويبرهن التقاطع بين هذه الأجندة ومجال الرياضة من أجل التنمية والسلام على قناعتنا بأن السلام المستدام يبدأ بالمشاركة والاحترام وإتاحة الفرص للجميع، وخاصة للشباب وذوي الإعاقة الذين تطلق عليهم بلادي مصطلح أصحاب الهمم. السيد الرئيس، من الضروري كذلك تمكين النساء والفتيات في هذا المجال وإتاحة المجال لهن للعب أدوار محورية في الرياضة، باعتبار ذلك ركيزة للشمول الاجتماعي والتنمية المستدامة. وقد حقق اتحاد الإمارات للرياضة النسائية تقدما بارزا في تمكين المرأة الإماراتية على القيادة والمنافسة وتمثيل الدولة في المحافل الدولية، كما أقرت التشريعات الوطنية دعم البرامج الهادفة إلى تطوير قطاع الرياضة النسائية. وفي الختام، تؤكد دولة الإمارات التزامها الراسخ بتعزيز الدور الذي تضلع به الرياضة في ترسيخ السلام وتحقيق التنمية المستدامة على مستوى العالم. وشكرا سيد الرئيس.
I thank the distinguished representative of the United Arab Emirates. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Qatar.
سيدة الرئيسة، سيدات السادة، أتقدم إليكم بالشكر والتقدير على عقد هذا الاجتماع. وقد تبنت دولة قطر مشروع القرار المعنون بناء عالم سلمي أفضل من خلال الرياضة والمثل الأعلى الأولمبي الذي يقدم للجمعية العامة كل عامين، في إطار مواصلة جهودها في تعزيز الأجندة الرياضية في الأمم المتحدة، وإيمانا بدور الرياضة في بناء عالم سلمي أفضل وإسهامها المقدر في التنمية. ونتقدم في هذا الصدد بالشكر والتقدير لوفد الجمهورية الإيطالية على جهوده البناءة في المشاورات بشأن مسودة مشروع القرار. وترحب دولة قطر بعقد الدورة 25 للألعاب الأولمبية الشتوية التي ستجري خلال فبراير 2026 والدورة 14 للألعاب الأولمبية الشتوية للأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة التي ستجري خلال مارس 2026 في ميلانو كورتينا بالجمهورية الإيطالية. ونثمن في هذا الصدد العمل الذي تقوم به اللجنة الدولية للألعاب الأولمبية واللجنة الدولية للألعاب الأولمبية للأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة، وننوه كذلك بعمل الأمم المتحدة خلال الأمانة العامة ووكالاتها المتخصصة في مجالات الرياضة وتعاونها مع الدول الأعضاء. سيد الرئيس، تؤمن دولة قطر بالتأثير الإيجابي للرياضة في تحقيق السلام والتنمية المستدامة ومكافحة العنف والإرهاب وتعزيز العيش الكريم للفرد والمجتمع وترسيخ التواصل والانسجام بين المجتمعات والثقافات وحماية حقوق الإنسان وتعزيز التنمية البشرية وتمكين النساء والفتيات والشباب وتعزيز أنماط الحياة الصحية والإدماج الاجتماعي وإسهامها في تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة وأجندة عام 2030. على الصعيد الوطني عملت دولة قطر على تعزيز البنية التحتية الرياضية في الدولة على أجود المعايير وقدمت نماذج ناجحة في استضافة الأحداث الرياضية الكبرى، حيث استضافت دولة قطر في عام 2022 لأول مرة في المنطقة العربية ومنطقة الشرق الأوسط بطولة كأس العالم لكرة القدم فيفا قطر 2022، كما استضافت بطولة كأس قارة آسيا لكرة القدم في عام 2024. وأطلق الاتحاد الدولي لكرة القدم ومنظمة الصحة العالمية بالشراكة مع وزارة الصحة العامة في دولة قطر واللجنة العليا للمشاريع والإرث حملة لتسخير قوة كرة القدم لحماية الصحة وتعزيز الصحة للجميع. وتحتفل دولة قطر سنويا باليوم الرياضي للدولة كيوم رسمي بمشاركة جميع مؤسسات الدولة وأفراد المجتمع بهدف رفع الوعي المجتمعي بأهمية الرياضة في إطار رؤية قطر 2030 التي جعلت من التنمية البشرية أحد مرتكزاتها الرئيسية. سيد الرئيس، على صعيد الأمم المتحدة درجت دولة قطر من خلال رئاستها لمجموعة أصدقاء الرياضة بالأمم المتحدة بالاشتراك مع إمارة موناكو على التقدم بمشروع قرار للجمعية العامة يرسخ للاعتراف بدور الرياضة في تحقيق السلام والتنمية المستدامة بعنوان الرياضة باعتبارها عاملا مساعدا لتحقيق التنمية المستدامة، وكان آخرها قرار الجمعية العامة 79/8 الذي تم اعتماده في نوفمبر 2024. كما تساهم دولة قطر في إحياء اليوم الدولي للرياضة من أجل التنمية والسلام في 6 أبريل من كل عام من خلال أنشطة وفعاليات تبرز التنوع والشغف الذي يجمع الناس حول الرياضة لتحقيق السلام والتنمية المستدامة بأبعادها الاقتصادية والبيئية والاجتماعية. وقد حظيت الرياضة باهتمام مستحق في المناقشات الرفيعة المستوى والأحداث الجانبية المصاحبة للقمة العالمية الثانية للتنمية الاجتماعية التي استضافتها دولة قطر في الأسبوع الأول من شهر نوفمبر الجاري. ختاما، ترحب دولة قطر بإعلان الهدنة الأولمبية من خلال قرار الجمعية العامة اليوم والهادفة لوقف الأعمال القتالية لكسر حلقة النزاع وإفساح المجال للأنشطة السلمية والتنافس الرياضي الودي، وتجدد التزامها بالعمل مع كافة الأطراف لتعزيز دور الرياضة في خدمة أهداف السلام والتنمية المستدامة. شكرا سيد الرئيس.
I thank the distinguished representative of Qatar. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Greece.
Madam President, distinguished colleagues, Greece wishes to express its appreciation for placing the Olympic Truce at the center of today's discussion. As the birthplace of Ekechiria, Greece has a moral obligation to lend its voice to this debate, which underscores the vital role of sport and fair competition in promoting peace and security. It reminds us that even in times of conflict and rivalry, there remains a universal aspiration for harmony, cooperation, and a shared vision among nations of diverse cultures and traditions. The Olympic movement and its ideals seek to contribute to a peaceful future for all humankind. Through the educational value of sport, it encourages to transcend the boundaries of conflict and state competition. The sacred pause in hostilities during the Olympic Truce, 7 days before and 7 days after the Games, creates a safe environment for humanity and brings together athletes from around the world as powerful heralds of peace, solidarity, inclusion, and good sportsmanship. The United Nations, through its resolutions, has played a crucial role in upholding the Olympic truce. The resolution before us highlights the need for social cohesion and community dialogue while recognizing the importance of protecting cultural heritage and fostering intercultural understanding. The Olympic Games and the athletes themselves serve as a universal symbols capable of breaking down barriers and inspiring mutual respect and non-discrimination. The decision to hold the Milano Cortina 2026 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games is also noteworthy. These games are committed to environmental sustainability and to ensuring a lasting legacy that benefits local communities and future generations. They reaffirm the universal values of sport as a driver of peaceful, cohesive, and inclusive societies. This year of special significance, as we mark the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, the milestone coincides with an important moment for Greece, our third tenure as an elected non-permanent member of the Security Council. Olympic principles are fundamentally United Nations principles. Let us reaffirm our commitment to dialogue, democracy, and diplomacy as the foundations for achieving peace and prosperity for all. And before I conclude, Madam President, let me wish to the Milano Cortina 2026 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games every success. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Greece. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of France.
Madame la Présidente, Madame la Présidente du Comité international olympique, Monsieur le Président de Milano Cortina 2026, chers collègues, la France s'associe à la déclaration prononcée par l'Union européenne et ses 27 États membres et souhaite délivrer les remarques suivantes à titre national. Tout d'abord, la France souhaite réaffirmer son soutien à l'Italie qui a porté avec conviction et esprit de concorde cette résolution sur la trêve olympique. Nous partageons cette certitude. Le sport est un instrument unique de paix, de coopération et de transformation durable au service des peuples et des territoires. À travers l'organisation des Jeux olympiques et paralympiques, nous avons la responsabilité collective d'incarner ces valeurs. Avec les Jeux de Paris en 2024, nous avons voulu démontrer qu'un nouveau modèle de jeu est possible. Un modèle plus sobre, plus inclusif, plus proche des citoyens, plus soucieux de l'égalité entre femmes et hommes. Un modèle fondé sur la maîtrise des ressources, la réduction de l'empreinte carbone, l'accessibilité universelle et la co-construction des territoires. Cet héritage n'est pas une parenthèse. Nous nous réjouissons qu'il constitue désormais le socle commun de notre action. En 2026, les Jeux de Milan-Cortina incarneront cette dynamique et apporteront une réponse alpine innovante fondée sur la valorisation des sites existants, la coopération transfrontalière et l'adaptation aux réalités climatiques de la montagne. La France salue ce travail exigeant mais indispensable pour la pérennité de nos sports de montagne. C'est dans cette continuité que s'inscriront aussi les Jeux d'hiver des Alpes françaises de 2030. Des Jeux sobres, responsables et durables, profondément ancrés dans les territoires et utiles pour les habitants, pour les jeunes, pour les athlètes, pour la planète. À travers Paris 2024, Milan Cortina 2026, Los Angeles 2028, les Alpes françaises 2030, une même trajectoire se dessine, nous l'espérons, celle d'un mouvement olympique qui évolue, qui écoute, qui innove et qui choisit la responsabilité. Parce que le sport n'est pas seulement une célébration, il est un levier pour la paix, pour la mise en œuvre des objectifs de développement durable, pour l'égalité femmes-hommes, pour le développement durable, pour la coopération internationale et pour le multilatéralisme. Je vous remercie.
I thank the distinguished representative of France. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Hungary.
Madam President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, Hungary aligns itself with the statement delivered by the European Union on behalf of the EU and its member states and wishes to add the following in its national capacity. First of all, we would like to join others in expressing our deep appreciation towards the excellent facilitators, Ms. Daniela Tonon and Mr. Ernesto Cicchitelli of Italy, for their outstanding work guiding our deliberations on this important draft resolution. The idea of the Olympic Truce reminds us that even in the ancient worlds, rivals recognized the need for a pause in hostilities to allow athletes and spectators to gather in safety. Today, its symbolism is as powerful as ever. In an era marked by more and more polarization, the Olympic Truce stands out as a tradition that bears a unifying message, resonating across the globe. Through this draft resolution, we express our determination to carrying the torch forward and to continue this noble practice. We would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the host country, Italy, and wish every success with the preparations of the Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games of Milano Cortina 2026. We would like to particularly welcome the fact that the draft resolution acknowledges the unifying nature of the event and the meaningful opportunity it presents to harness the power of sport to foster undergoing efforts for peace worldwide. Distinguished delegates, as a nation passionate about sports and the Olympic Games, we must know that sports is a unifying medium between nations. Sports is about competing peacefully, showing respect for the opponents, and importantly, respect for the rules of the games. In a testament to our dedication to these fundamental principles, Hungary led the successful adoption of the resolution proclaiming 19 May as World Fair Play Day during the 78th session of this General Assembly. As acknowledged in the draft resolution, sport is about much more than competition, however. It has an essential role in fostering cooperation between individuals, teams, and nations alike. Furthermore, sport is an important enabler of sustainable development in its three dimensions. It contributes to the promotion of tolerance and respect, the empowerment of women and girls, individuals and communities, as well as it makes a significant beneficial impact to health, education, and social inclusion objectives. Our collective endeavors on sport remind us that we can reach faster, higher, and stronger standing together. Distinguished delegates, we firmly believe that no efforts should be spared to defend the neutrality of sports and to safeguard the domain of sport from undue politicization. In this regard, we acknowledge the essential role of the International Olympic Committee, including in upholding the neutrality and integrity of the Games. In conclusion, we would like to once more express our congratulations to Italy for bringing this important initiative to the fore. Hungary is proud to be amongst the co-sponsors of this draft, and we are looking forward to a consensual adoption. Last but not least, we would like to wish all the athletes and spectators gathering for the Milano Cortina 2026 Games a successful, fair, and inspired Olympic tournament. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the distinguished representative of Hungary. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Ukraine.
Thank you, Madam President. The delegation of Ukraine aligns itself with the statement delivered by the European Union and would like to add the following remarks in its national capacity. Let me start by commending the delegation of Italy for the excellent facilitation of the draft resolution entitled Building a Peaceful and Better World Through Sport and the Olympic Ideal. Ukraine has co-sponsored the draft and will support further efforts to make the Milan Cortina 2026 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games a success. Ukraine recognizes the vital role of sport in building a peaceful and better future, in promoting tolerance, equality, and mutual understanding among people and nations, as well as in advancing public health and well-being. Sport unites communities, inspires youth, and strengthens social resilience. However, the ability of sport to serve as a force for peace is gravely undermined by Russia's ongoing war of aggression against Ukraine. The war has caused devastating consequences for Ukraine's sports sector. Russian aggression has disrupted athletes' preparation for competitions, led to the cancellation or postponement of numerous events, restricted access to training facilities, and caused the partial or complete destruction of sports infrastructure. Distinguished colleagues, the Russian Federation has killed at least 644 members of Ukraine's sports community, injured 20 others, while 20 remain in captivity and 13 are missing. At least 799 sports facilities in Ukraine have been attacked by Russia, of which 180 were completely destroyed, 134 partially destroyed, and 120 severely or partially damaged. Belarus has actively assisted Russia in committing these crimes. Therefore, the international community must maintain the suspension of Russian and Belarusian athletes from international sports competitions as the only justified and necessary response to their complicity in Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. Allowing their participation would undermine the integrity of sport as a contributor to peace, condone the ongoing killing of Ukrainian athletes and their coaches, and show disrespect to the hundreds of members of Ukraine's sports community who have been killed, injured, or displaced by this war. In this regard, Ukraine welcomes the International Olympic Committee's decision to maintain the suspension of the Russian Olympic Committee for breaches of the Olympic Charter, including its violation of the territorial integrity of the National Olympic Committee of Ukraine. Madam President, Ukraine today stands as the only country in history that, under full-scale attack, continues to send its national team to the Olympic Games, a testament to our unwavering commitment to the Olympic values of peace, dignity, and justice. Russia often repeats the phrase, sport is outside politics, but war is not politics, war is a crime. A state that wages a war of aggression deliberately kills athletes, destroys stadiums and sports schools, has no moral standing to refer to the Olympic ideal. Russia has violated the Olympic Truce at least 3 times, further demonstrating its disregard for the fundamental principles of the Olympic movement. Distinguished colleagues, sport must remain a platform for peace, not a tool for propaganda by aggressor states. We must ensure that there is no Russian or Belarusian state representation in global sport, until Russia ends its barbaric war of aggression against Ukraine. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Ukraine. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Israel.
Thank you, Madam President. And I join others in welcoming the President of the International Olympic Committee to New York and wishing her much success. Israel would like to thank Italy for facilitating the negotiations of this draft resolution. We co-sponsored the resolution and support it. We look forward to participating in the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics, and we are absolutely sure Italy will do an excellent job as the host country. We also can't wait for the Summer Games to return to Los Angeles in 2028, and our athletes are training hard to bring their absolute best to the Games. It is very exciting that for the first time, the Summer Youth Olympic Games will take place on the African continent. Senegal, which is known for its supporting culture, especially among youth, will definitely create a unique experience for all delegations, and we are proud to bring a team of promising young athletes to the Games. Colleagues, we each have our own Olympic moments filled with pride and inspiration. For many Israelis, that moment was Yael Rad winning our first ever medal at the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. Yael has inspired generations of judokas in Israel, girls and boys alike, and thanks to her, judo remains one of the most popular sports events in Israel. We also can't forget the iconic moment of rhythmic gymnast Linoy Ashram bringing home the gold all-around medal at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, or Moran Samuel, a world champion, winning the gold medal at the 2024 Paris Paralympics in the women's individual rowing competition. All of these athletes uphold the Olympic values of excellence and determination to the highest levels. They have become role models in and out of the ring for younger generations who see themselves in them. And the message is clear. Everyone has a place in sports, and everyone can excel no matter where you come from, no matter what your gender is, or if you're an athlete with disabilities. Israel will also never forget the brutal terrorist attack at the 1972 Munich Olympics, when a Palestinian terrorist murdered 11 members of the Israeli Olympic delegation, athletes, coaches, and judges. Sports must play a role in preventing and countering terrorism and violent extremism, and is a powerful contributor to building resilience against radicalizations to violence. Finally, I would like to quote parts of the International Olympic Committee statement on a recent decision by Indonesia, which blocked Israeli gymnasts from participating in the latest championships in Indonesia. The IOC stands firm in its belief that sports must remain a beacon of hope, a force that brings the whole world together in a peaceful competition. This is at the very heart of the Olympic movement. The IOC principal position is very clear. All eligible athletes, teams, and sports officials must be able to participate in international sports competitions and events without any form of discrimination from the host country, in accordance with the Olympic Charter and the fundamental principles of non-discrimination." End quote. We, of course, stand by this statement. Indonesia's actions deprived our gymnasts of their rights to compete peacefully and stand against the core of the Olympic values. We take this moment to reiterate that sport must remain a safe space for athletes worldwide to fulfill their aspirations and for all of us to come together. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Israel. Now I give the floor to the distinguished representative of the United States.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam President. I'm honored to represent the United States in the General Assembly today. It's wonderful to join colleagues from the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, including Board Chair Jean Sykes. I'd like to acknowledge and thank our Italian colleagues, including Milano Cortina 2026 President Giovanni Malago, and his team's tremendous work preparing for the upcoming Winter Games. It's also a pleasure to be joined here today by International Olympic Committee President Kirsty Coventry. The United States appreciates her leadership and the IOC's efforts to advance peace and fair competition through sport. As the host country of the 2028 Summer Olympic and Paralympic Games, the United States is excited to welcome the Olympic flame back to U.S. soil and committed to promoting peace and global stability through sport in Los Angeles and again in 2034 when we host the Winter Games in Salt Lake City. We believe sports have an unrivaled power to build bridges, foster dialogue, and establish lasting ties among people, among communities, and among nations. The three core values of the Olympics, excellence, friendship, and respect, are not only important tenets for the Olympic Games, but also for the United Nations and all member states. We applaud the Italian government and the Milano Cortina 2026 Organizing Committee for their dedication to an event that catalyzes innovation and provides a platform for safe and fair competition among nations. We look forward to close collaboration with our Italian counterparts as we work toward hosting the world for the 2028 Summer Games and later the 2034 Winter Games. Like our Italian colleagues, we are dedicated to ensuring the best Olympic and Paralympic Games possible. Hosting such a massive event is no small feat, and we are tremendously fortunate to have the opportunity to learn from our Italian partners. We are excited to celebrate their success and look forward to continued close collaboration as we prepare to host the 2028 Games. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank the distinguished representative of the United States. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Burundi.
Madame la Présidente, ma délégation souhaite exprimer sa sincère gratitude à la délégation de l'Italie pour la conduite inclusive et constructive des consultations ayant abouti au projet de résolution intitulé « Construire un monde pacifique et meilleur grâce au sport et à l'idéal olympique ». Le Burundi se félicite de ce processus collaboratif et réaffirme son attachement aux valeurs de paix, de solidarité et de fraternité entre les peuples promus par la trêve olympique. Nous saluons l'esprit de cette initiative qui met en lumière le pouvoir du sport pour renforcer la cohésion sociale, la réconciliation et la coexistence pacifique. Madame la Présidente, le Burundi souhaite partager une expérience nationale qui, au fil des années, est devenue un modèle de réconciliation, de paix et de développement par le sport. Sortant d'une décennie de conflits violents, période durant laquelle les liens sociaux étaient rompus et l'État peinait à retrouver son autorité, notre pays s'est tourné vers un instrument universel, simple mais profondément humain, le sport. Nous avons choisi de transformer les terrains de jeu en espace de rencontre, de dialogue et de reconstruction. Les jeunes, qu'ils soient anciens combattants rebelles, militaires de l'armée gouvernementale ou civils, ont été rassemblés autour des compétitions sportives organisées dans tout le pays. Dans un premier temps, des équipes ont été formées au sein de chaque province. Par la suite, les meilleurs joueurs ont été sélectionnés pour constituer des équipes interprovinciales mixtes, symbole d'unité et de réconciliation. Ces tournois interprovinciaux ont transcendé les divisions. D'anciens adversaires sont devenus coéquipiers. Les supporters se sont rassemblés derrière leurs équipes régionales et progressivement, un sentiment d'appartenance commune a émergé. La fierté d'être burundais avant tout. De cette dynamique est née une initiative nationale porteuse d'espoir, le flambeau de la paix. Depuis 19 ans, le flambeau traverse toutes les provinces du pays, transmis des autorités aux citoyens, des femmes aux hommes, des personnes âgées aux jeunes, des militaires aux civils, un symbole d'unité, de solidarité et d'engagement collectif. À chaque étape, il est accompagné de projets communautaires, construction de routes, écoles, centres de santé ou initiatives économiques locales, faisant du flambeau de la paix un levier tangible de développement social. Cette initiative repose sur 4 piliers. La mobilisation nationale favorisant un sentiment d'appartenance partagé, les messages de paix essentiels dans notre contexte post-conflit, le développement communautaire grâce aux contributions locales et construction lors du passage du flambeau dans différents endroits, et l'engagement politique assuré par l'alignement des thèmes annuels aux priorités nationales, comme celui de 2025, leader flambeau du peuple vers le développement. L'approche burundaise reflète la conviction de son Excellence Monsieur le Président de la République, Évariste Ndayishimiye, selon laquelle il n'y a pas de paix sans développement. Le flambeau de la paix illustre l'union entre sport, paix et progrès socio-économique. Madame la Présidente, après 19 années d'application continue, notre expérience nous a enseigné plusieurs leçons essentielles. La nécessité de la continuité des initiatives de paix qui favorisent un impact durable, l'importance du sport comme vecteur et non comme finalité, l'engagement politique à tous les niveaux, l'adaptation thématique et l'inclusion territoriale totale, assurant qu'aucune communauté n'est laissée de côté. Fort de ce succès, le Burundi est convaincu que ce modèle peut inspirer d'autres nations. Le flambeau, symbole universel d'espoir, de résilience et de dépassement, transcende les frontières, transcende les cultures. C'est dans cet esprit que le Burundi propose la création de la Global Peace Torch Initiative, qui permettrait à chaque nation d'allumer son propre flambeau de la paix, adapté à son contexte spécifique, mais uni dans un objectif commun, promouvoir la paix, la cohésion sociale et le développement durable grâce au sport et à l'esprit olympique. Dans sa dimension mondiale, le flambeau de la paix partirait du Burundi pour voyager à travers le monde, en commençant par 5 des pays qui adhèrent à cette initiative sur tous les 5 continents. Son parcours serait conçu pour traverser les nations en situations diverses, pays fragiles ou sortant de conflits, pays déjà en paix, ainsi que ceux confrontés à des chocs économiques, sociaux, climatiques. Cette approche vise à créer un réseau inclusif et solidaire où le flambeau devient un symbole vivant d'espoir, un symbole de résilience et un symbole de coopération entre sociétés aux réalités différentes, tout en renforçant l'idée que la paix et le développement sont des objectifs partagés par tous. Nous exprimons notre profonde gratitude pour les nombreux messages de soutien déjà reçus de la part de plusieurs délégations ici présentes à l'égard de cette initiative. Notre vision est celle d'un monde où le flambeau de la paix brille dans chaque pays, éclairant la voie vers la réconciliation, la cohésion sociale et le progrès partagé. L'expérience du Burundi démontre que le sport peut unir des sociétés profondément divisées et les transformer en communautés solidaires autour d'objectifs communs. Dans un contexte mondial marqué par les conflits, les inégalités, la polarisation sociale, les crises climatiques et les déplacements forcés, le sport offre un outil puissant d'espoir, d'inspiration et d'action collective. L'initiative mondiale du flambeau de la paix pourra se développer en s'appuyant sur les mécanismes existants, sans structure nouvelle, renforçant ainsi le multilatéralisme concret et coopératif, et favorisera l'échange d'expériences, l'apprentissage mutuel et la construction de réponses communes aux défis globaux. Le Burundi souhaite mettre à la disposition du monde son expérience unique, celle d'un peuple ayant su transformer la douleur en espoir, la division en unité et le jeu en instrument de paix. Nous offrons cette expérience avec conviction, persuadés que le flambeau de la paix peut contribuer à promouvoir une humanité réconciliée, solidaire et tournée vers un avenir harmonieux. Madame la Présidente, à la suite de cette expérience, le Burundi se réjouit d'avoir coparrainé ce projet de résolution sous analyse, qui illustre l'engagement collectif des États membres à promouvoir la paix et le dialogue par le sport. Fidèle à sa conviction que le sport constitue un puissant vecteur de cohésion sociale, d'éducation et de développement durable, le Burundi soutient pleinement l'esprit et les objectifs de cette résolution. En appuyant la trêve olympique, notre pays réaffirme sa détermination à encourager un monde où les différences deviennent une richesse et où le sport sert de pont entre les nations. En conclusion, le Burundi réitère son soutien total aux idéaux du mouvement olympique et adresse ses meilleurs vœux pour la réussite des Jeux olympiques et paralympiques d'hiver de Milan Cortina de 2026, ainsi que des Jeux olympiques de la jeunesse de Dakar en 2026, les premiers du genre organisés sur le continent africain. Cet événement historique constituera une source de fierté pour l'Afrique et un symbole de l'importance croissante du sport dans la promotion de la paix, de la jeunesse et du développement. Je vous remercie.
I thank the distinguished representative of Burundi. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Madam President, and we acknowledge the presence of the President of the International Economic Committee, the Honorable Madam Kirsty Lay Coventry. We welcome this important meeting on a subject that touches the deepest aspirations of humanity. Over 2,700 years ago in ancient Greece, even bitter rivals paused their conflicts under a Kecheria, the Olympic Truce, allowing the safe passage to the Games and demonstrating a shared recognition of a higher duty to peace. Since those ancient times, the Olympic spirit has carried a profound hope that even briefly, nations might set aside their quarrels and allow the young to compete in peace. The Olympic Truce is therefore a moral summons reminding us that beneath our flags and borders, we remain one human family. Today, as conflicts intensify across the world, this appeal becomes even more urgent. The pause in hostilities 7 days before the Games and 7 days after may be brief, but it is significant. Zimbabwe reaffirms its strong support for the Olympic Truce because even the smallest moment of peace can open doors to dialogue, humanitarian access, and renewed hope. We acknowledge with regret that the truce has too often been honored more in language than in action. Yet, we must not give in to despair. To abandon it would be to extinguish one of the few moral lights still shining in a troubled world. Our responsibility is to keep that light alive. Madam President, Sport remains one of humanity's greatest forces for unity. It bridges cultures, softens divisions, and instills discipline, fairness, and respect. Zimbabwe welcomes this resolution and its recognition of sport as a driver of education, social inclusion, and sustainable development. We're especially inspired by the upcoming Dakar 2026 Youth Olympic Games, the first Olympic event on African soil. This is a proud milestone for our continent and a moment of hope for millions of African children. At home, Zimbabwe continues to integrate sport into education and community life as a path to empowerment, gender equality, and healthy living. Madam President, as we adopt this resolution, Zimbabwe makes a sincere appeal to all member states. Let the Olympic Truce of 2026 be honored not only in our speeches, but in our actions. Let the Milan Cortina Games become a sanctuary of peace, a time when humanitarian corridors open, dialogue resumes, and the world remembers that no victory is greater than the victory of peace. May the purity of sport remind us that humanity is and has always been one family. Zimbabwe is proud to co-sponsor this resolution, confident that upholding the Olympic deal can bring us closer to the peaceful and prosperous world we all seek. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Zimbabwe. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Kyrgyzstan.
Thank you, Madam President. The Kyrgyz Republic thanks Italy for its leadership in advancing this important resolution. As a proud co-sponsor, we join Italy in its strong commitment to promoting sport as a force for peace, dialogue, and development. Sport is widely recognized by the United Nations as a powerful tool for positive change. It supports key SDGs, including good health, gender equality, reduced inequalities, and peaceful societies. In Kyrgyzstan, sport plays an important role in promoting healthy lifestyles, preventing harmful habits among young people, and strengthening trust and unity among different communities. At the national level, we are implementing a new program for development of physical culture and sports until 2030. Our priorities include increasing the number of people who practice sport to up to 40%, expanding modern sport infrastructure across the country, including in rural areas, and tripling the number of children and youth in sports schools. We also place strong emphasis on gender equality. Our goal is for women and girls to make up at least half of those engaged in organized sports. A separate part of the program focuses on adaptive sport to support persons with disabilities through accessible facilities, tailored training, and qualified specialists. Excellencies, the Olympic and Paralympic movements remain important platforms for unity and dialogue. We hope that the Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Games will become one of the most gender-balanced Winter Olympics in history, and we wish it every success. Kyrgyzstan also contributes to global sport and peace efforts through the World Nomad Games. As the initiator and co-organizer, we promote traditional sports as a way to bring cultures together. The FIVS Games gathered more than 2,400 athletes from 89 countries. In 2026, Kyrgyzstan will host the 6th World Nomad Games, and we aim to further strengthen friendship and a culture of peace through traditional sport. The Kyrgyz Republic stands ready to continue working with all member states to use sport as a tool for peace and sustainable development. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Kyrgyzstan. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Ecuador.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. El espíritu olímpico es el símbolo más importante de la paz en el mundo de hoy. Permite a las personas de todo el planeta estar juntas y respetarse mutuamente, afirmando los valores de tolerancia y comprensión mutua. Esta frase del secretario general resume la importancia del tema que hoy nos convoca. Es que el deporte es un catalizador de muchos importantes temas de la agenda de esta organización, pues contribuye al empoderamiento de la mujer, de los jóvenes y de las personas con capacidades especiales, y también a la protección de los derechos humanos. El deporte, además, es clave para la promoción de la educación, la cooperación y la solidaridad, la equidad, la inclusión social y, por supuesto, la salud. Por esto, el Ecuador tiene el privilegio de coauspiciar el proyecto de resolución titulado Construcción de un mundo pacífico y mejor mediante el deporte y el ideal olímpico, y destaca la importancia de la cooperación de toda la membresía para colectivamente implementar los valores de la Equecheiría, así como el papel trascendental que, para este propósito, tienen el Comité Olímpico Internacional, el Comité Paralímpico Internacional y el Sistema de Naciones Unidas. Señora Presidenta, el Ecuador insta a respetar la tregua propuesta en la resolución durante la realización de los Juegos Olímpicos y Paralímpicos de invierno de 2026 en Milán, Cortina, y augura a Italia el mayor de los éxitos en su organización y su desarrollo. Que prevalezca el espíritu olímpico, hoy y siempre. Muchas gracias.
I thank the distinguished representative of Ecuador. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation.
Благодарю вас, госпожа председатель. Олимпийские игры никогда не были просто спортивным соревнованием, в котором атлеты демонстрировали бы свою силу и выносливость. В их основе лежала идея сплочения и отказа от конфронтации. Олимпийские игры являются одним из инструментов дипломатии, способствуя снижению напряженности в международных отношениях и разрешению конфликтов. Спорт – один из имеющихся в распоряжении человечества инструментов продвижения принципа мирного существования в духе добрососедства и культуры принятия своего соперника. Российская Федерация убеждена, что в условиях нарастающих глобальных вызовов олимпийские идеалы приобретают особую значимость. Мы последовательно продвигаем ценности спорта, особенно среди подрастающего поколения, как универсального языка мира, взаимного уважения и солидарности, способного объединять культуры, преодолевать вражду и формировать атмосферу доверия между народами. Особое внимание уделяем международному сотрудничеству в спортивной сфере. Мы приветствуем решение Генеральной Ассамблеи Международного Паралимпийского комитета о полном восстановлении в правах Паралимпийского комитета России. Для наших спортсменов с ограниченными возможностями это крайне позитивный сигнал, дающий надежду на скорое возвращение к любимому делу, которого они были незаслуженно лишены в силу политической конъюнктуры. Российская Федерация выступает за то, чтобы спорт в мире развивался по собственным законам, не зависел от политической обстановки и предпочтений, и тем более не становился предметом дискриминации и манипуляций, сродни тем, которые мы, к сожалению, сегодня вынуждены были слушать с этой самой трибуны. В этой связи мы приветствуем подготовленный делегацией Италии проект резолюции утверждения мира и построения более счастливой жизни на планете посредством спорта и воплощения олимпийских идеалов. Нам отрадно видеть позитивные изменения в нынешней версии текста. В частности, параграф 31 преамбульной части данной резолюции признает все без исключения принципы Олимпийской хартии, в числе которых, напомню, противодействие дискриминации и политический нейтралитет олимпийского движения. Мы надеемся, что представители западных стран, которые выражают поддержку данному документу сегодня, в скором времени не на словах, а на деле покажут, что для них эти постулаты не пустой звук. Мы желаем Италии успехов в подготовке и проведении зимних Олимпийских игр в Милане и Кортине. Уверены, что на главном спортивном мероприятии будет преобладать дух истинного олимпизма, и, конечно, с нетерпением ожидаем увидеть, как высокий профессионализм российских спортсменов вновь проявит себя на международной арене. Мировому сообществу еще предстоит пройти значительный путь, чтобы восстановить их веру в целостность олимпийского движения, подорванную в последние годы политически мотивированными решениями. Возвращение к подлинным идеалам спорта требует совместных усилий, свободных от предвзятости и двойных стандартов. Все олимпийцы должны иметь возможность участвовать в соревнованиях на равных, в атмосфере уважения, справедливости и свободной от политических барьеров. Благодарю за внимание.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation. I now call on Ms. Kirsty Coventry, President of the International Olympic Committee and a third double Olympic champion of swimming and also the first female president of the IOC. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and good morning to you all. What a wonderful morning it's been so far. Some of the conversations and shared values that you've all shared have really stood out to me. Human dignity, unity, resolution to conflicts, dialogue, fairness, inclusivity, neutrality of sport, and strength is our diversity have been some of the common themes from all of your statements. It is a great honor to address this assembly today, and on behalf of the entire Olympic movement, I extend my heartfelt thanks to the United Nations General Assembly for once again reaffirming its support for the Olympic Truce. I would like to express our special appreciation to the mission of Italy as host of the upcoming Olympic Winter Games Milan Cortina 2026, and to the missions of Monaco and Qatar as co-chairs of the group of Friends of Sport. We are also deeply grateful to the many member states that have co-sponsored this resolution and continue, as we heard today, to champion the power of sport, to promote peace, to empower women and youth, and to strengthen communities through health, education, and inclusion. The Games in Milan Cortina will be my first as president of this International Olympic Committee. I often think back as a 9-year-old girl in Zimbabwe growing up, watching the 1992 Barcelona Olympic Games and telling my parents that I was one day going to go to the Olympics and win a gold medal. And a few years later, when I was 21, I got the honor of standing on that Olympic podium. That little girl never could have imagined that one day I would be given such a huge honor of leading this incredible organization. And with this role comes great responsibility, a responsibility to stand up for everything that makes sport and the Olympic Games such a powerful force for good. It is a responsibility I hope to share with everyone who believes in the values of our Olympic movement. And it is a responsibility that I humbly ask all of you to share with me today. Around the world, conflict and division continue to cause untold suffering. In such a world, sport and the Olympic Games in particular can offer a rare space where people meet not as adversaries, but as fellow human beings. When athletes come together, they do not see nationality, religion, or background. They see one another as fellow athletes. They compete fiercely, yet they embrace as friends, united by the same hopes and dreams. They respect the sacrifices that each of them has made simply to reach the starting line. They show us what humanity can be at its very best. This is the spirit of the Olympic Truce, a call to set aside what divides us and rather to focus on what unites us. But athletes cannot do this alone. They can only inspire the next generation if they are able to compete. In this divided world, we need to work together to keep sport and politics apart. This means athletes must be able to enter host countries and take part in competitions, not face the threat of being left back at home because they are denied a visa for political motivated reasons. The final list of competitors must be decided by international federations, not by governments, and athletes must not be judged on where they come from, but rather on their sporting merits. Imagine being an athlete who has given everything for the chance to compete at the Olympic Games. The early mornings, the missed family moments, the years and years of dedication. Imagine the joy, the excitement of qualification, followed by the shock of being told you cannot compete, not because of anything that was in your control or what you did on the field of play, but because of politics far beyond your reach or control. This is why the Olympic Truce is so important, and this is why I'm so grateful for all of your support today. You are sending a clear message to the athletes of the world that yes, you will stand with them as they show on the Olympic stage that sport can unite us, despite what divides us. It is only when we protect the autonomy of sport that we can promise athletes from every country that they will be able to compete freely. It is only then that the young child watching the Olympic Games for the very first time can be inspired to dream big without the threat of any interference beyond their control. It is only then that the athlete can rejoice in the euphoria of qualifying for their very first Olympic Games and can continue to celebrate confidently that the only selection criteria will be done on the field of play. It is only then that sport can show its full power. It can inspire. It can bring the athletes of the world together to create the magic that we all love during the Olympic Games. In just a few months, the world's attention will turn to Italy. Milan Cortina 2026 carries a special significance. A new approach to Winter Games, more gender balanced than ever before, celebrating tradition and innovation, staged across regions where winter sports are a part of local life and identity. The world will be watching, and together we will admire the beauty of the Italian landscape, Italy's passion for sport, and the extraordinary talents of the world's best winter athletes. I would like to thank the organizing committee led by its president, Giovanni Malago, for their dedication and partnership in preparing these games. Together with our Italian friends, we are creating Olympic Winter Games that will inspire the next generation and the world. Today, as you adopt this resolution, we are reminded that the Olympic movement and the United Nations share the same purpose: to bring people together, to uphold human dignity, to build bridges of peace, by protecting sport as a space where everyone can come together as equals. We reinforce these shared values. Even in these dark times of division, it is possible to celebrate our shared humanity and inspire hope for a better future. It is about finding that the way forward is to be able to do this together as athletes, as nations, and as a global community. This is the spirit of the Olympic Games, and it will shine brightly from Milan Cortina to the world. Madam President, in your address this morning, you shared with us that the Canadian hockey team made reference to play like girls. I can guarantee you that through my leadership, I will continue to play like a girl and I will lead with strength and integrity for the next 8 years. Thank you.
I thank the President of the International Olympic Committee. We've heard the last speaker in the debate on this item. We shall now proceed to consider draft resolution A/80/L10. For your information, the draft resolution has closed for e-sponsorship. I now give the floor to the representative of the Secretariat.
Thank you, Madam President. I should like to announce that since the submission of the draft resolution, and in addition to the delegations listed on the L document, the following countries have also become co-sponsors of A/80/L10. It is a very long list, Madam President, so please bear with me. Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, Andorra, Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Armenia, Australia, Austria, Azerbaijan, Bahamas, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Barbados, Belarus, Belgium, Belize, Bhutan, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Botswana, Brazil, Brunei Darussalam, Bulgaria, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cabo Verde, Canada, Central African Republic, Chad, Chile, China, Colombia, Costa Rica, Côte d'Ivoire, Croatia, Cuba, Cyprus, Czechia, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Djibouti, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Estonia, Eswatini, Fiji, Finland, France, Gabon, Gambia, Georgia, Germany, Ghana, Greece, Guatemala, Guinea-Bissau, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Hungary, Iceland, India, Iraq, Ireland, Israel, Jamaica, Japan, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kenya, Kiribati, Kuwait, Kyrgyzstan, Lao People's Democratic Republic, Latvia, Lebanon, Lesotho, Libya, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malawi, Malaysia, Maldives, Mali, Malta, Marshall Islands, Mauritania, Mauritius, Mexico, Federated States of Micronesia, Monaco, Mongolia, Montenegro, Morocco, Mozambique, Myanmar, Kingdom of the Netherlands, New Zealand, Niger, North Macedonia, Norway, Pakistan, Palau, Panama, Papua New Guinea, Peru, Philippines, Poland, Portugal, Qatar, Republic of Korea, Republic of Moldova, Romania, Rwanda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Samoa, San Marino, Sao Tome and Principe, Senegal, Serbia, Sierra Leone, Singapore, Slovakia, Slovenia, Solomon Islands, Somalia, South Africa, Spain, Sri Lanka, Sudan, Suriname, Sweden, Switzerland, Tajikistan, Thailand, Timor-Leste, Togo, Tonga, Tunisia, Turkey, Tuvalu, Uganda, Ukraine, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, United Republic of Tanzania, Uruguay, Uzbekistan, Vanuatu, Vietnam, Yemen, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. If any other countries wish to co-sponsor AD/L10, please signify by pressing the microphone button. Comoros, Congo, Trinidad and Tobago, Guinea, and that concludes the list. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of the Secretariat. The Assembly will now take a decision on draft resolution A/AD/L10 entitled Building a Peaceful and Better World Through Sport and the Olympic Ideal. May I take it that the Assembly decides to adopt draft resolution A/AD/L10? It is so decided. Before giving the floor for explanation of vote after the vote, may I remind delegations that they are strongly urged to limit explanations of vote to 5 minutes, which should in any case not exceed 10 minutes and be made from their seats. I now give the floor to the next speaker, Denmark, on behalf of the Nordics and Baltic countries.
Madam President, I delivered these remarks on behalf of the Nordic and Baltic countries, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and my own country, Denmark. The Nordic and Baltic countries fully support the adoption of this resolution by consensus under the leadership of Italy and in cooperation with all co-sponsors. The Olympic Truce, echoing the ancient Greek traditions, serves as a powerful symbol of our collective commitment to peace, unity, and understanding among nations during the period of the Olympic Games. At a time when wars continue to cause immense suffering and when trust in international cooperation is being tested, this resolution serves as a powerful reminder that collective challenges require global unity. Madam President, we wish to underscore the significance of the joint statement signed 12 November 2025 by 33 ministers of sport and the European Commission on the International Paralympic Committee's announcement on the Russian and Belarusian National Paralympic Committees. As we look ahead to the Milan Cortina 2026 Games, we extend our best wishes to the government of Italy in their preparations and to the athletes who will participate in the Games. Sport unites us. Let us seize that unity to build a more peaceful and humane world. I thank you.
I thank the Speaker of Denmark on behalf of the Nordic and Baltic countries. I now give the floor to the Speaker of Argentina.
Muchas gracias, señora Presidenta. El deporte, a lo largo de la historia, ha sido un lenguaje universal capaz de unir a los pueblos más allá de sus diferencias. En un mundo muchas veces marcado por la división y el conflicto, el deporte se alza como un puente de entendimiento, respeto y cooperación. La antigua tradición griega de la tregua olímpica nos recuerda que el espíritu del deporte puede trascender los conflictos y abrir espacios de encuentro incluso en los momentos más difíciles. Hoy, a través del proyecto de resolución adoptado, y por el cual agradecemos el trabajo de los facilitadores, mantenemos vivo ese espíritu, promoviendo el deporte como herramienta para la paz y el desarrollo. No obstante, a lo largo de los años que ya tiene esta resolución, el lenguaje se ha ido expandiendo a agendas que van más allá del espíritu original de la tregua olímpica. Y es en este sentido que la Argentina reserva su posición nacional en los párrafos preambulares 8, 17, 21 y en el párrafo operativo 7. Alentamos a volver a recuperar el foco de esta resolución en cómo las Naciones Unidas pueden apoyar iniciativas que utilicen la fuerza del deporte para fomentar el diálogo y la resolución pacífica de los conflictos. Señora Presidente, los Juegos Olímpicos y Paralímpicos de Invierno Milano Cortina 2026 representan una oportunidad excepcional para renovar nuestro compromiso con la paz. Saludamos al Gobierno de Italia y al Comité Olímpico Internacional por su trabajo y dedicación en la organización de estos Juegos, que esperamos sean una inspiración para seguir construyendo, a través del deporte, un futuro más justo y pacífico para todos. Muchas gracias.
I thank the Speaker of Argentina. We have heard the last speaker in explanation of vote. After the vote, the exercise of the right of reply has been requested. May I remind members that statements in the exercise of the right of reply are limited to 10 minutes for the first intervention and to 5 minutes for the second intervention, and should be made by delegations from their seat. I call on the representative of Indonesia.
Madam President, Indonesia wishes to exercise a right of reply towards the statement made by a delegation regarding our position towards athletes from a certain country. Indonesia wishes to reaffirm that all national decision is guided by our constitution, which obliges the state to ensure the security, public order, and broader public interest in all national and international events hosted in our territory. This constitutional responsibility is applied consistently and is not aimed at any specific member state. It is a uniform obligation that Indonesia must uphold to guarantee that international events in Indonesia proceed safely and peacefully. It is important to underline that this decision was taken after careful consideration of domestic conditions, security assessments, and our responsibility to maintain public order, in which that no sovereign state can disregard. Indonesia remains committed to the development of sports, including to continue to invest in athletic excellence, expand opportunities for young athletes, and strengthen cooperation with international sporting bodies. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Indonesia. The Assembly has thus concluded this stage of its consideration of agenda item 11. The meeting is adjourned. I wish you all a good day. Thank you.
you.